What is up, everyone? Welcome back to Alexis. Today it's the big one. It is my updated championship predictions. It is a second chance of me to try and do the best that I can. All I'm going to say, I have spent a lot of time moving teams back and forth. It's taken me a whole week to even get a table which I can look at it thinking it might finish that way. Now, I'll tell you my strategy to get to this table. I'll explain my reasonings why I put teams in what position. And I'm telling you this, it's so much different than my predictions I did in August. We don't talk about those. I'll talk about those in the end of the season. But as of now, it's my chance to redeem myself. My chance to kind of apologize for putting teams too high or too low, and to kind of give you a reason why I put them there. But also, guys, make sure you predict your updated table predictions in the comments down below. I would love to see a debate in the comments. If you guys like what you see, please give the video a like. It just tremendously helps. Let's aim for 25 likes for this video. That'd be terrifically appreciative. Please do hit that subscribe button if you've not done so. It does really help the support of this channel. And please share this channel to as many people as you can. That is how we're going to grow together as a community. But without any further ado, let's reveal my updated championship table prediction. So here's the blank table at the moment, and I'll quickly talk about my strategy. I feel with the games we've got left, we've got up to 13, just a little bit more than those games left for every single team. And because teams still have games in hand, you can argue some teams are in a false position, some teams could benefit from being in that false position, but some teams could even be hindered by that false position. Now, with form and inconsistencies, that's also really tricky as well, because I think all 24 teams are going to win at least once, and I think we'll even lose at least one game as well. You know, I'm even thinking Fulham could lose a game. I think Bournemouth could lose a game. And I even think Barnsley, even Reading could win at least one game in their final form of games. And in the top 6 race, which is I think is the closest race we've seen for quite a long time, I don't think a single team has got a straightforward running of games to the end of the season. So that's made that a bit easier because it's relied, for me, looking at squad depth and if any player gets injured, how much can it hinder a team. So I've looked at these predictions based on how they've reacted to bad form and how strong their team is in depth. That is how I've basically just positioned all these teams. So without the way, let's actually reveal each team one by one. So 24th place for me is Peterborough. They've been very unreliable this year, I feel, and I think Peterborough, they would love nothing more to have championship survival. It's what they sought out to do, but their form right now is not giving me a lot of encouragement. I know they were quite good against Preston when they did lose by 1-0, but even with that, I don't think they've helped themselves selling Siriki Dembele, who was definitely their biggest contributor and the biggest reason why Peterborough were even fighting for survival. But now they've lost that, I think it's going to be very tricky for them to survive. 23rd place for me is Barnsley. I actually do not think they will be rock bottom because I think their performances have improved recently. I just feel, for me, even though they're only a matter of points, you know, behind Reading and outside of the bottom 3, I think it's too little too late. And I think even when they picked up their win against QPR, it's against a QPR side that were weak in form. I think Barnsley can still pick up some wins if they carry on with these improved performances, but I just don't think it'll be enough. I think they'll be too inconsistent to survive. And the final team to go down is Reading. They are going down in 22nd place. They've got the longest losing streak currently in the championship, and I don't see improving. Lucas João could be a wildcard player that could definitely save them from this. But if their back line does not improve anytime soon, I just do not see Reading surviving, unfortunately. So now to the teams who have narrowly survived. 21st place for me is Derby County. I think they will survive this season. Now, this could definitely be proven wrong for me if things off the field don't improve for them. I think even with their run of games, especially their home games, I think they've got some very crucial games. They've got a home game against Barnsley near the end of the season, which I think is a very crucial game for them. They've got to play Peterborough very soon as well, which I think is a very crucial game for them as well. If they take advantage for all of these games and win the points against the teams around them, then I think Derby will survive on points. It's just for them hoping that off the field things improve. 20th place for me is Hull. Hull, for me, have shown promise, but then they've been so inconsistent at the same time. I think the change of manager as well is going to make things not very smooth as well. I think it'll be quite inconsistent, but I am excited for Hull moving forward with their signings. I just think they'll end in around the 20th place, but I think 20th and 19th place are not really separated by a lot for me. I think both have got their positives and flaws a little bit, and I just think Hull, I think, are more likely to finish in that position. 19th place for me is Bristol City. Now, Bristol City, I have no doubt in my mind they've got attacking potential, and I really do like their forward line. But defensively, they are so poor, and that is why I have to put them down here. Nothing against Bristol City, I really like their fans as well. But I just think in general, I think their defence is really what's letting them down. And I think that inconsistency, and if they don't improve on it, I think they will finish in or around that position. I know they're 17th in the moment, but when you look at it, they're only 2 points ahead of current 19th place Cardiff. And I think within a couple of games, if defensively they don't improve, they'll definitely fall down there for me. 18th place. Now, this was tricky. I've gone for Birmingham. Now, Birmingham, I feel like I've cheated a little bit because I think with their signings, I think they have improved, but I basically predicted Birmingham not to have any change simply because I just think one team that's below them, I think might actually be better with their form near the end of the season based on their running of games. And I think still for me, away from home, I still am not too confident of Birmingham, moving forward with that. I think, give those signings time, I think Birmingham could be another team that could definitely benefit moving forward. I also think the tension outside of the pitch, whilst I think it was a positive motivator for Birmingham to beat Luton last weekend, it could get in the way of their form as well. So that's really what it is for me, and I feel a bit harsh, putting Birmingham this low, because they can easily do a lot better than that. 17th place for me is Cardiff. I actually think Cardiff might go on a bit of a run now. I think Cardiff, especially with their home form, have actually really improved. I was very critical of their home form at the start of the season with Mick McCarthy. I backed Steve Morrison to continue the form that he's done with Cardiff at the moment. I think they're on the up. I like the signings that they've got in as well. They had a good win yesterday against Coventry, and I think their home form, for the fact that's improved, I think they'll have enough consistency to finish in that position. So coming up next in 16th place, maybe a bit of a shock, is Millwall. So I predicted Millwall 16th, and it's 8 places lower when I originally predicted them back in August. They're currently 14th in the table, and they're 5 points ahead of 16th. I just feel, for me, that I think what might affect them is their inconsistency for one, and their away form. Their away form for me has not been impressive. Their home form has been pretty reliable, and that could be one thing that can make me proven wrong. But with the teams below them also picking up their form and their consistency too, I think it's going to be quite tricky for Millwall to stay in that position. If some of their key players do get injured or moved away, then I think it's going to be very, very tricky for them. For me, I just feel, because of their poor away form especially, I think that is the reason why I think they might fall to 16th, but I could be wrong on this one. I won't be surprised if I'm wrong on this one. 15th place for me is Swansea City. I saw their performance last weekend against Bristol City, and I've seen quite a few of their games, and I've seen Swansea really, really improve. Likewise with Millwall, I think their away form still needs work. I think Swansea and Millwall are in a very similar position, so there's not a lot that separates them. Swansea do have games in hand, which if they do win those games in hand, they can definitely capitalise and start to overtake the teams above them. But I think with the players starting to pick up their form, I think Pirro is a very reliable player. And Obafemi now picking up his form, I think is a very crucial time for him to be picking up form as well. And it makes me feel that if one of their strikers is injured, their goal scoring form may not be affected. So I think for depth purposes, that is what slightly edges Swansea above Millwall for me. But it's very, very close. 14th place for me is Coventry. What a drop this will be for them, especially right in the first 15 or so games in the season when they're up there in the top 6. I think they'll finish 14th simply because I think they're going through a bit of a tough patch at the moment. I think their confidence is not quite there. I think they've even felt a bit disheartened for how far they've fallen as well from that position as well. I think a mentality thing is what's really affecting them. I felt they could have done a bit more in the transfer window, which would have definitely helped their season. I know they've not got a huge budget and they're doing what they can, but I think it's a bit of a missed opportunity, especially if they do finish down in 14th as well. But it will be an improvement, and I think Coventry fans will just be hoping that they can have a decent end to the season. But for me, I think based on their form and their performances at the moment, I think they may fall down a little bit. 13th place for me, just above Coventry in the table, is Blackpool. Blackpool for me, I think they edge the teams below them because I still think their performances are pretty good. And even though that their form has not been as strong as it has been recently, I know they lost their last game against Blackpool, but the fact they actually were great against Blackpool, and I think we were a bit unlucky not to get more from that, and this is against a team with a brilliant squad now based on their transfer window. I think they're definitely going to be a team wanting to really push on from their 15th place current position in the table. I think their end to the season will be a bit here and there. You know, they'll squeeze a couple of defeats in there, but I think in general, majority of those results I think will be wins, and I think they will just narrowly, just barely miss out from the top half of the table, because I think the other 12 teams I think will definitely have a little bit more consistency. 12th place for me is Preston. Now, there's one really concerning factor I have with Preston. Are they going to continue their great unbeaten form if they lose Cameron Archer to injury? Cameron Archer is really ticking things along and is actually carrying this team to be in a decent position in the table, in the top half of the table. But if he gets injured, I don't know if Ryan Lowe's going to have many tricks up his sleeve to basically get Preston that place upwards. So basically, that psychological part of it is the reason why I can't really put them any higher. I do think, once again, if Ryan Lowe has a transfer window and he has time to invest in his squad, I think Preston could be on their way up again. 11th place for me, Luton Town. Luton Town for me have generally been quite consistent at times, but then they go on a bit of an inconsistent patch, and I think in general it'll be a very similar form to Blackpool. They'll win a couple, they'll lose a couple, and I think with the games they have in hand as well, if they actually capitalise on that and they actually continue to give most of the teams they play against a really good game, I think they will be up there. I just think the teams above, I think I've just got a little bit of a class. And I'm telling you this now, the top 10 was the toughest part of the table for me to predict. So let's go to the top 10 now. So who have I predicted to finish 10th place? Spoiler alert, it's quite a shock. It's West Bromwich Albion. Now I've got to say, out of the last 10 teams I had left, I just simply picked the team which I'm least confident with right now. And it's West Brom. Their squad should be up there in top 4, top 3. But with Steve Bruce, you know, he's had a pretty tough time as Newcastle manager recently. He's stepping back down to the Championship with, once again, very high standards. And I think that's not really the best job he really could have had at that time. He definitely would have stopped West Brom leaking the amount of goals they were starting to leak under Ishmael, but would he necessarily improve their goal scoring form, which they've got the second worst conversion rate in the league? Only Barnsley have got a worse conversion rate than West Brom, and they're rock bottom of the league. I don't think he will improve their conversion rates at all. So if we keep having these 0-0 draws, it's not going to help West Brom progress up the table. They're currently 9th. Maybe they can even fall one place lower and finish 10th, which would be a disappointing end to the season. 9th place for me is Stoke. I think those signings like Lewis Baker and Harwood Bellis and Philo Jimbides as well, I think they can be the difference of actually putting Stoke into a pretty average position to a really decent finish. They could even finish higher for 9th. I just think at the moment, based on recent results, I remember when they lost against Coventry recently, that was a really big blow for them. And I think they will lose one too many games to really enter the top 6 conversation. But I do think they will pick up some good results along the way. They've got a quite tough run in for, I think pretty much every team has got a tough run in here and there, because I think it's been very, very competitive this year in the Championship. So I think 9th for Stoke would be a small improvement for them, but if they can keep those signings on for next season, definitely keep your eyes on Stoke, because I'm really excited to see how they progress. 8th place is Huddersfield. Now that's quite a drop from them, considering they're currently in 5th place in the table in the top 6 and looking quite safe in the moment, especially with having the longest unbeaten run of the Championship so far. But I feel, for me, the teams are now starting to sniff up and catch up on them. They've started recently, Huddersfield, to go through a drawing streak at the moment. They've drawn 4 of their last 6 games, and I think that could cost them. You know, drawing games is dangerous, especially when you've got teams in form like Forest, Middlesbrough and Sheffield United winning most of their games. You know, a draw could almost seen as a loss in many ways. So I think Huddersfield will fight very hard to keep their place. But the disadvantage is the games of hand they played. I think they could be in a bit of a false position. So I do think the teams below them will start to catch up. But I definitely think within the last couple of game weeks, Huddersfield, I think, will even still be in the top 6. I definitely think it's going to be quite tricky to knock Huddersfield away. And I think 8th is definitely by far the lowest they could finish. So I'm very excited to see if Huddersfield can definitely relish that challenge. But for me, I just think they'll slightly miss out. And 7th place, the team that literally miss out by within a matter of points or could even be goal difference, for me, is Sheffield United. That might be a shock to you guys, especially for the fact that Heckingbottom has got Sheffield United on an unbeaten run so far, but they've drawn back-to-back games 0-0, and that concerns me. I remember one transfer window when I was grading them that they lost a couple of strikers. I do realise they've got the likes of McGoldrick and Sharp, up front, but losing someone like Brewster to injury, and of course letting go players such as Lise Mousset, they don't have much backup going forward. And if Sharp, gets injured again, they're going to have to rely on McGoldrick, where McGoldrick has not really scored hardly any goals this season. So I think going forward is their biggest issue for me. I think defence up there are great, and I think it'll definitely make them push a little bit high up the table. I know they are currently 8th place, and they've actually got an extra game in hand over Nottingham Forest and are joint on points to them. But I think based on the depth in the squad, I think Sheffield United just fall short for me. So I think they'll finish 7th, and it'll be quite a blow for them. But I think very, very close. And I think next season, will be, a very, very important season for them. 6th place for me is Blackburn. I didn't originally have them down there. I did have them a little bit higher up in the top 6. I do think for me, their away form is not as great. They've not scored as many goals recently. And the injury to Ben Brereton Diaz, which I heard from him when he sustained against West Brom, I think would definitely make things very nervy for Blackburn. They have got a good gap with the teams below them, but with how good some teams are in form, they will be chasing after them. Their form can't be catastrophically bad, because if so, Huddersfield, Sheffield United, Stoke, even West Brom, I think can all overtake Blackburn as well. And if Blackburn finish as low down as 10th after being 3rd in this position, it's not a great end to the season whatsoever. So I think it'll be a bit of a nervy last couple of games for Blackburn, especially if they've not really been in this position ever in the Championship since getting relegated, of course. So it'll be a bit nervy, but I think they might just hold on. 5th place for me, QPR. Very similar reason. Couple of injured players, which I think could be a blow. I think Willock is their latest injury-prone player. And I think there's a little bit of an over-reliance on either one or the other of Willock or Elias Chair. I know when Elias Chair was at AFCON, Chris Willock really stepped up and really deputised his absence. But now that Willock's gone, Elias Chair's going to have to step up again. And I don't think he necessarily stepped up in their recent games, because QPR have lost back-to-back games. So they've got to be very careful, QPR. But I think on the depth of the squad, I think they'll still stay up there. And QPR is actually the only team that have actually kept my same position, which I predicted from August. So I think they'll finish top 6. I just don't think they'll finish as high as they think they could. 4th place for me, it's Nottingham Forest. Forest, one of the teams in form in the Championship. I do think there's still a little couple of flaws with them, with their depth, but also I think with their discipline. Obviously, with Brice Samba getting recently sent off, Horvath is going to have to be in goal in the next couple of games or so. But I think the system that Steve Cooper has integrated in this squad, I think has definitely got the players on board. FA Cup could potentially be a banana skin moment for them if they cannot cope with the fixture congestion. But I think in general, they are on the height with their form at the moment. They've won 4 of their last 6, only sustaining 1 defeat of their last 6. I think Forest can definitely continue that form, and I think they'll finish in 4th. And this will be a huge achievement for them, considering they've not been in the top 6 for over 10 years. And 3rd place for me is Middlesbrough. Once again, I think the two informed teams are actually going to continue that form to the end of the season. And I still think with Middlesbrough, even if they do have a couple of injuries, they've got so many options in all positions of the pitch. I think their one kryptonite, to be honest, is their goalkeeper. To be honest, I think if they had a better goalkeeper, Middlesbrough will have close to a complete squad. And I think Chris Wilder, for how experienced he is getting teams promoted from the different leagues, I think it's a match made in heaven for Middlesbrough, and I think he'll definitely help this side going forward. But I just think the top two have kind of cut away a little bit for different reasons. So 2nd place for me is Bournemouth. I think with their squad and their recent transfers, you know, the way I can see the new transfers already integrate and were heavily involved in Bournemouth's comeback over Blackpool, I think they by themselves are going to push Bournemouth over the line, and they will get automatically promoted in 2nd. And I think Fulham will get first. They could be on course to try and get some points records. They are on 64 points with 30 games being played. So the maximum points they can get at the moment is 112. I mean, it would definitely be incredible if they could win all their last 16 games, and I don't think they will. But they are on course to having a record-breaking season. They can definitely break the record amount of goals as well. They're currently on 78 goals in 30 games, which is over 2.5 goals a game, which is incredible. So I think Fulham, just based on the firepower, the squad depth, I think they'll get promoted in first. So guys, that is my updated table predictions. Let me know what you think of those updated predictions in the comments down below. Have I predicted anyone to finish too high? Anyone too low? Please do let me know. If you guys like what you see, please give the video a like. It just tremendously helps the channel. Let's aim for 25 likes. Please hit the subscribe button if you've not done so, because we're trying to push to 1,000 subscribers as soon as we can. It'd be incredible if we can get there. And please share this channel to as many people as you can, because that is how we're going to grow together as a community. But now wrap it up. Thank you guys so much for watching. You guys are legendary if you saw the end of this video. And as always, I'll see you guys soon. Take care, everyone.